All right, we're good.
What do you want to talk about?
The state of the world. What's this I keep saying about Joe Biden having classified documents in his house?
In his Corvette is what I heard.
I saw it was in his house, but also, isn't his house the White House? Isn't there lots of classified documents in there?
That's a good point.
If you guys can't tell, we're doing an episode in somewhere different. The updated studio. It's a closet. We're in a closet. It just has kind of some colored paneling. It's a smaller room, and we're hoping it looks better.
Yeah, we were having trouble with our lighting in the other room, so we're hoping that this smaller room
that probably sounded horrendous just now, moving that, but whatever.
Yeah, I guess it was like in his Corvette or something, that's what I heard.
I didn't know he drove a Corvette.
I didn't either. I think it's gray. Like a gray.
What model one?
Like it's like the
good one, like a '60s Stingray or something. Like with
no, I'm thinking like what Nathan Sinclair had.
It's like a '70s model. Like I said,
those are pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I'd like to have one, and they're cool looking.
Yeah, they're okay. I like the one that's 10 years older than that better.
I like the brand new ones.
The C8s, yeah. What's that show called? It's Jerry Seinfeld, that show where he had called Comedians in Cars Eating Coffee. Yeah. And he had that episode with Obama whenever he was in office, and he did it like at the White House, and they drove one of like a '63 Stingray around, but they wouldn't let them leave the gate, so they just like drove it around in the driveway in front of the White House. I
hate to say this, but it looks like it's the same car. Maybe the picture
that's
I saw
a 60-something model.
Maybe the picture I saw was just with Joe Biden looking at it or something. Maybe he was there looking at it too.
My timer just shut off. Audio started at 150. There's a timer down there.
Keep going?
Yep. Yeah. So, what's new?
What's new? It snowed a lot today.
Not a lot. If people in Canada are like, it's not like 4 inches maybe.
That's a lot for here, though.
It is a lot. All in like 12 hours.
It's enough to worry. Sorry, that is a big squirrel out there. But they keep packing nuts in the Stealth.
Yeah, I remember you said that they had like built a nest whenever you first got it.
Yeah.
And then whenever we were at that house on Hamilton, I was looking out the window one day watching other squirrels come up in the wheel wells and disappear up into it.
Yeah, they love that thing.
I think like some squirrels built a nest in there that has like a scent that they recognize or something like that.
I'm sure there's still some acorns up in it somewhere, but I like took out the inner fender and cleaned it out, so I don't know. Maybe they just like that car. They're like, man, that's a nice car.
Well, they're stupid then because it's an ugly ass car. It's not that ugly. I hate it anyways, though.
Why?
It's uncomfortable to sit in.
I disagree.
It's so uncomfortable. It just smells kind of old inside.
Well, it is old.
But you act like it's in mint condition.
It is.
Mint condition things don't smell old. They smell brand new. Like a new.
Be just fine.
No. It's like the cloth in it has the old smell in it. It's like...
All I did was vacuum it.
If you got it detailed and like reupholstered, it'd be awesome.
The upholstery is perfect.
Awesome.
It's perfect.
It stinks though. Something has permeated inside. Or something. Yeah, replaced.
This car's sat in a barn for like
sat
in a barn for since 2011, and she didn't drive it much before then either.
Who?
My grandma. It was her car. It's a 1991 Dodge Stealth.
It's red. Maybe I'll put a picture of it up. Oh, and
that's 25,000 miles, original miles.
When I was editing the episode yesterday, I put whenever we were talking about you and Kendall in the bed in Colorado, I put the picture.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
On what?
On YouTube.
I didn't see it. I watched it this morning.
The whole thing?
I don't know. Yeah.
I put it up.
Maybe I walked away at that point or something.
Yeah, maybe. It was only up for maybe 2-3 seconds.
Huh.
That was funny because I figured out how to do that.
Funny picture. Yeah, and you in the video you put that like broken house in there too.
Broken house.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about TikToks. I'm talking about real.
Oh, in the YouTube.
Yeah.
How'd you do the image in the
TikTok? It's just an emoji. Zoomed in.
How are you doing the the lettering. Like whenever the
captions?
The captions, yeah, but whenever I do it, it's like the whole paragraph.
I'm going into I'm going in to edit it, and I'm putting spaces between. Like, you're going every couple of words and then hitting enter, so it drops it down to the next line. Because that's the thing you were talking about paying for was the thing that does that, and you can just do it yourself on there.
Cool.
It's TikTok's caption thing isn't perfect, but like I noticed. What did I say on there? I said Joe Rogan, and on the caption after I posted it, so I can't change it. It's like says Joe Rubian or something like that.
You can go in there. I can edit what it says,
but not after I posted it already.
But I didn't know I didn't know how to do that caption thing like how you were doing.
Well, it's exactly the same way that you're changing the words. It's just instead you're hitting enter, like the little, so it drops down the next line.
So are you doing one word enter?
I'm doing like, I don't know, just kind of bullshitting.
Whatever,
one or two, three words, whatever sounds like it's you say it together in a sentence, it should be on the same thing. So like, you may say a full sentence, but not all the words are cohesive, like syllables kind of, if that makes any sense. English lesson 101. I noticed those ring lights with this on are like the exact same shade.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's
pretty identical. I think the smaller one's brighter.
Yeah, maybe it's just like a density thing.
I don't know. Do we look cool with our sunglasses on?
Yeah. I got kind of a headache for some reason, so they're kind of helpful.
Probably because there's 10 lights in here.
There's 4. Oh, 5. Unless you want to count the 6.
Yeah, that's a light. Sure. Computer, I could count that.
It's not on.
In my favor.
It's not on.
And technically, those lights are reflecting off of my glasses, so...
And then there's the window over there with the snow.
That's a big light, the sun.
It's like the biggest light.
They definitely heard that.
Yeah, I'll have to edit that one out. At 8:19. So, say something.
We got a big guest coming on this weekend, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of like talking things up when there's a high possibility of them falling through.
True.
Because then...
But you said talk about something, and I'm talking about something.
I'll talk about something true.
That is true. I said possibly we might have a big guest coming on. There's a chance that Barack Obama or Trump will be on this weekend.
President Barack Obama.
Chance. Small one.
Didn't technically... I've heard people say that, like, although, didn't he... Never mind. I'm not going to bring that
up. Did you see the National Geographic deal he did?
Who?
Obama?
Yeah, it's a good...
That was awesome.
Yeah, it's a documentary that he narrated. And it's pretty good. I like it. I love nature. Those are the only documentaries I watched. I don't like crime documentaries. I don't like history documentaries, really. But nature documentaries, I watch the shit out of. Planet Earth, Blue Planet, those are all good ones. Any ones where David Attenborough, that old British guy who's famous for doing those narrations. Anyone that he does, it makes me feel good.
Who's got a good radio voice? You're supposed to say who?
Who?
Ed Milet. You know who that is?
I feel like you just made that name up. Say it again.
Ed Milet. You don't know who that is?
Never.
He's a big business guru guy.
There's a never-ending supply of them.
Not true.
And we're coming up. Tony Robbins, I'm coming for you, big four-headed motherfucker.
He's just big, but in general.
But for some reason, his forehead sticks out.
Wait a second. You're making fun of Tony Robbins?
His forehead is like the size of my whole face.
He's like 10 feet tall and 3 feet wide.
Yeah, but his forehead really sticks out somehow. And he's
like 70 years old.
He honestly sounds like he has some kind of disorder that made him gigantic. Like his voice makes he's really?
Yeah, whenever he was a kid, he fell into Miracle-Gro.
Here, I was thinking you were going to be serious. Fell into Miracle-Gro.
Yeah.
We do not
a big bowl
endorse Miracle-Gro or any other products that I think is owned by like
unless they want to
or something.
Unless they want to sponsor us, then sure.
Then Miracle-Gro. It's the miracle that'll make you grow. Just look at Tony Robbins.
Yeah. We just gave him a great idea for a paid ad.
You don't think he's had that? There can't be the only time somebody's ever said that joke that you just came up with. You think you're that creative?
It very well could be the first time that somebody came up with it because it was just pretty stupid. So,
and lots of people are pretty stupid.
True.
Yeah.
I've never been like, Tony Robbins' forehead's big. I
was like, I heard something. I was like, what's going down?
Yeah, our light just shifted there.
I thought like the shelf or the ceiling or something was going to come down.
Yeah, I got to yank those out.
Yeah, we are in this house that Cody bought a little while ago. This bedroom that he doesn't even use, that there's this closet in that is different. It has this paneling in it. And it's because he was talking about it, the big room we normally do it in, the lights and the sound kind of.
Yeah, it's an old house.
So now in this little room, maybe it's better.
You know,
tell us in the comments below.
This is obviously cheap paneling, but it kind of looked decent in the background.
I think it does. That's why we're doing it.
The like the YouTube videos, you put the
wood thing.
They look good.
That's just my design taste.
The intro to the one today was good. I liked it.
Which one was it?
That looked like it was in Washington,
Oregon.
Off the coast.
It's Oregon.
How do you know?
Because it was the title of the free little video clip. It said Oregon coast.
I was going to say, I know you didn't film it because you don't have a drone. We were there, but
no, it was Oregon. I mean, that whole Pacific Northwest looks kind of like that.
Did I tell you that Ryan got a drone? With a camera, like a good one?
Really?
Yeah. I was flying it around the other. I kind of got the hang of it, but
like better than the one that Kindle has, because Kindle has that one that I messed around with.
It was like $600 or $800.
Oh, the one that Kindle had, it was kind of fun, but the camera just wasn't very good quality.
No, the camera on this. I mean, it's not like the iPhone, obviously. It's
definitely not like the Samsung.
Yeah, it's definitely not cheap as the Samsung. But it's decent. We could probably get some cool videos, and you'd let us borrow it. And I'm decent at flying it. I was flying it through the house.
Well, I flew Kindle's one in your house. I have a video somewhere on my phone. Papers flying everywhere and stuff.
It would probably be kind of scary to fly it outside, though.
Really?
Because in the house, it can like hit stuff and then it be there.
Kindle's one, I went up. I want to see how high it would go. It went up like 450 feet up in the air, and I was like, I wasn't even looking. I was just looking at it, and I was like, over Highway 60. I was just standing in the driveway, and I was like, over the 60 on the other side of the railroad tracks, and then the wind was like just pushing it, and then the battery, low power thing came on.
Oh, crap.
But it has like a mode on it that it'll automatically, you can just hit a button, and it comes back to wherever you started it at. So that's pretty good.
But we could, well, I'll see if I can borrow that whenever we're like doing our travel videos and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, you can't use most of those in like national parks, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah. Which is crazy because there are drone videos of like, I've seen drone footage of over Grand Prismatic Spring in Yellowstone.
You're probably not supposed to speed either. People do that.
Yeah. Well, they might be like the national park that did the drone stuff. Sure. Who knows? Or they got a special permit to do it or something, because there's no way people aren't allowed to do that. Because photography is a big deal in all the national parks, you know?
Sure. Well, I'm sure, they do. They probably hire some professional guy to come
or they come in. If you're a photographer and you want to do it, you're like, you have to pay them fucking $1,000 fee or something to photograph.
Well, it's probably more or less they just don't want, and I love this about the national park, you can't fly a plane over it either.
What?
You can't fly planes or helicopters. There's no fly zone.
Where'd you hear that?
On Heavy D's video, because some guy crashed into it was some park in Oregon, some national park, or
there's
maybe Mount St. Helen deal.
Yeah, there's Crater Lake National Park is the only one in Oregon.
But I guess he crashed his plane there, and he wasn't even supposed to. I mean, he was having trouble, so he probably just tried to find a spot to land.
And you get fined a bunch of money or something.
Mm-hmm. But they had to get a whole bunch of permits and stuff because they had to get like a lift helicopter to come grab the old plane pieces and carry it out. But what I was getting at is, if everybody flew drones in there, that they'd be losing drones in trees, and there'd be kind of trash and stuff all over the place. And that's the nice thing about the park.
Be disturbing birds and shit.
Yeah, the park is...
it's meant to be pristine.
Like, we've never been there.
Except for like the hotels and the restaurants and the roads and the visitor centers.
And the hiking trails.
Yeah.
But
I liked that one in Grand Teton. That trail, it was like very minimalist. There wasn't much to the trail, but it wasn't hard to follow really either.
Well, that's just because most people are not going to do that hike.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is I go on trails all the time around here that are like, you're walking and then all of a sudden you're like, am I even on a trail? I'm just in the middle of the woods. And on this one, it was like very, like most of the trail was just like barely anything, but it wasn't hard to follow. Like, I don't know why.
Maybe the vegetation's different there. Like, it's like a lot of vegetation, but enough people go on that one trail that it's just kind of easy to see.
I had this one image in my mind of like us walking through part of it where it was really narrow and there was like bushes all the way, like on both sides of us, like up to our, waists. We were walking through stuff like that. But we didn't run into like a bunch of spider webs. It is usually in stuff like that, there's like spider webs all across, and we didn't have any of that. And we didn't see any snakes or any kind of bugs bothering us.
Well, it was the perfect time of year to go.
It was September 9th, I think, was the day we were there. Something like that.
Yep. Something.
Yeah. But the second half of it, so from Lake Solitude all the way up, that part's much more popular. And I think that's why that was like a little bit bigger of a trail. Because people do that. People do all the time. That's like more popular. They go from Jenny Lake to Lake Solitude and then back in one day.
That would have still been an awesome hike.
Yeah.
Just that part of it.
But out and back, you might as well just... You already did more than half of the distance that way. Yeah. You just didn't go up the hard. Going from Lake Solitude up to the Divide would have been the hard part.
Yeah, that's going straight up a mountain. So, but remember, like, we were at Jenny Lake and we could only make it like 100 feet. And we're like, holy cow, I got to take a break. You remember we were like getting pretty tired at that point.
That wasn't Jenny. Jenny Lake was the one at the beginning. Yeah, this was Holly Lake.
Holly Lake.
Yeah.
Holly Lake.
I loved that place. Like, I want to camp right by that little pond lake thing. Do you think there's fish in there? I can't think of where they would come from.
I bet that thing freezes solid. Probably not.
Solid?
Yeah, being up at that high elevation. Think about the temperature it is right now.
I think it's like 9,500 feet or something like that.
Yeah, I bet it freezes solid.
But then again, like, where would the fish have come from? They. Like,
I don't know if this is true or not, but I hear cranes.
Oh yeah, will populate ponds. I have heard that before.
I don't know if that's true.
Don't take our word for it.
That seems really smart.
Well, it could be on accident. Somehow. Maybe there's like eggs or something on their feet, fish eggs.
Maybe. Because that's farming, basically.
Yeah. Well, there are animals that do that. There's a podcast I listened to called SciShow Tangents, and one of the things I remember them talking about in there was that, if I remember correctly, it was like these ants that purposefully grow like a type of fungus on them for food or something like that. And they will like cultivate it in different places of their colony on purpose. They'll like grab it and move it and let it grow in places and take care of it just for that purpose. That's farming.
See, if we had Wi-Fi here, I could just look that up. I'm actually kind of curious about that, if cranes actually do that.
Yeah.
It would be really smart of them to do that. But I don't know if they would be that smart.
Wouldn't it suck if this wasn't recording?
Did you check it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I did, but who knows what happens,
Yeah.
Shit happens.
Yeah. I feel like we need to quit doing that. It seems like every episode we have like a pause moment. We go and like work on stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Don't worry about it. If all else fails, we still got audio.
Yeah. At Holly Lake, that's whenever the trail kind of was like, where are we at?
Yeah, I remember, like, we're sitting at Holly Lake for a while, we were resting, walking around, looking at stuff, and we decided to go, and we kind of, like, the lake was right here, we had come up this way, the lake was right here, and then we were supposed to start going up this way, and there was, like, we were confused about the trails that, like, went up, and then we just saw some guy walking up with, like, a huge backpack, I remember that.
Yeah.
And then it started getting really hard from there.
Maybe everybody kind of does that same thing. And then that's why there isn't like a really good trail. Like they're wanting to go see this and that, and they just kind of.
That's why you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah,
it ruins shit. And right about there, I was reading on the thing about. I was reading that paper map that had also was like a brochure that had stuff about all the wildlife, and I was like, I want to see a moose here so bad.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we saw it way further after that. But
2 of them, 2 big ones.
That was
actually I saw 3. But
no, you didn't. That part of the hike, there was so many different sections of that hike that had different kinds of scenery. Like at the very beginning, before we crossed String Lake, which is where you said you saw the moose, on our right was this really cool section of woods that was like, you're like looking through it and it's just all really tall, straight trees that are like...
Hardly any underbrush.
Yeah, and you're just like looking straight and it looks like anything could be hiding between the trees or something.
And there's an awesome... shallow creek running through the mountains.
It's called String Lake that connected Lee Lake, I think was the bigger lake to the right, and then it flowed all the way down to Jenny Lake, which is where we walked along that stream and walked across that little wooden bridge.
Every time I think of that place, I just get excited.
That place is so awesome. Yeah. And then like the whole time as we were going up and up and up and up and up Paintbrush Canyon, and you look behind us, that's Lee Lake, that big lake that we could see behind us. It had like an island in it and stuff.
Yeah, that would be... We should plan another trip together about the same time of year.
Yeah, very beginning of, like, first week or two of September.
But just maybe plan on doing Grand Teton National Park. Like, don't even try to do Yellowstone. I know we've been to both. But
yeah, would you want to do that same hike? Because that park is relatively small. I don't know how many other hikes there are there like that.
I don't know. I mean, I'd be willing to. I just hate because it's like such a cool memory in my head. I would hate to go again and it not. See,
you say that, and I don't know. I feel like it's awesome.
Well, it is awesome. It is awesome. But I don't know. I'd like to try a different hike. Probably, if there are other hikes.
Yeah, I mean, I bet there are. There are ones that go. What would be cool is the people who backpack it, like they'll camp on that trail halfway through. That'd be kind of cool.
I'd like to start getting into that.
I have thought about it before and like looked into it. And the hard part is you have to like buy a lot of stuff because you can't just have like a $20 tent from Walmart because it's going to be way too fucking heavy. All the stuff, you have to get stuff that is designed to be small and lightweight so you can carry it with you for 20 miles.
I'm talking about going with a group of people too.
Yeah.
Like if you brought 3 people all together, somebody carries the tent, somebody carries a backpack that's got the food and stuff in it, and somebody carries...
Well, there's still a lot more stuff than that, you know. Everybody's got water. You got shit you're going to cook with.
That was the first hike. Like, we brought a lot of snacks and water and stuff.
I ran out of water at Lake Solitude. That's about halfway.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
I remember we were sitting on that. That was a cool... I just have so many images in my mind of, like, very super, like, serene. I remember after we came down the mountain, before we actually got up to Lake Solitude, we sat and, like, ate on a rock that was down there. And there's, like, grass all the way around that's just kind of, like, waving, blowing around in the wind. And I was just like... And then I remember being like, oh, shit, I'm out of water.
Yeah. Before that, I didn't really, I guess, realize that there was places on Earth that were literally still in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. That place was, like, whenever we were looking at the map and realizing that this was going to be a lot more of a task than we thought it was, I was like... Nighttime's going to come, and we're not in a safe place at all. No. Not in... Unprepared. Yeah. It's... bears and moose and shit live up there. It gets fucking cold, I bet we might have just frozen to death. Because I remember...
the crazy thing about that is it wouldn't have been cold enough for you to actually freeze to death.
It just would have
been miserable.
Well, you might. I don't know. It depends. We didn't have anything... We didn't bring anything for planning on that, you know? And we were up way higher. Because... Yeah, probably not. But
even if it's dark, like
I don't remember. Did I bring I have that big light. I don't know if I brought it or not.
That would have been difficult because our phones would have died. But it was a decent enough trail you could have probably... Oh, I'd have been scared to death.
Oh, yeah, because that section was where we saw the moose and bears and stuff. I cannot... Can you imagine how scared you'd be? Never mind that. The meth heads in Seymour.
I don't know. Yeah, we may
every little thing. And your best bet, honestly, what I've heard people say is to be up in the higher altitude part where the trees stop growing.
Animals and
stuff. Because like the bears don't go up there because there's no point.
But that would have been terrible.
Yeah,
because it's the colder there, and we would have had to turn around and go back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that I think about that
would have been really bad. The whole thing took actually, I think it was exactly 11 hours.
On that one, there's enough people, though, that would have probably been...
Yeah, we ran into people multiple times. Remember that, like, we had passed that, like, the 2 girls that were, like, from Germany or something, and
that had never used deodorant in their entire life.
They smelled so bad. And then later on, I was like, I smell, I think we're behind them again. And then we walked around a corner, they were there, stopped looking at the bear, remember? Like, it's like, I felt like I was the bear. I could smell a person from fucking 200 feet away.
Yeah, that was some Liver King type stuff.
Yeah, it was B.O. Oh, I was like, what the hell is that? It's a cow. It's a bear. Oh. You think, how recently do you think there has been a black bear within, like, 100 feet of this house?
Apparently they're around here. I've never seen one around here. I could see them being in, like, Branson and Arkansas. But Dad says at Grandpa's house they saw one time. Grandpa V-Brock's here.
Oh, that's pretty... No, that's not that far.
But to answer your question, I have no idea.
Well, I was thinking about that when me and Morgan had gone hiking at that cabin last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We were looking out the window there. I was like, I wonder how recently a bear has been right by here. Because it's just in the fucking woods, you know?
I can't wait for it to be like spring.
Ugh.
Well, there's like nowhere in the United States right now, or in the middle of January, that we can go hiking and the weather be nice besides Big Bend, and I was there last weekend.
That's not nice, just that it's hot.
Big Bend
you
was
can go
cool.
to Hawaii. It's nice right now.
I was there.
But when we went, it was
2 months ago.
It was beginning of February when you and I went.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I was wanting to move there, but now that I've been there twice, I just think it's kind of overrated.
I have no shame in admitting that I would not mind living here forever and just visiting lots of other places. I like it here a lot.
I like it here too, but I think it's just mostly because it's home.
Maybe
there's like always something to do here.
Because there's anything wrong with that, is there? You know.
Well, no, but nothing says somewhere else can't be home either. But we tried California.
You said that before. I would say all of these things I've heard you say before, and then you were the one who first suggested that we come home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which surprised me. I mean, I was like, I was going to come home for a different reason. I was running out of money, and I was like 1 or 2 days from saying the same thing, and then you just came up to me one day and said it. You're like, all right, I want to go.
Did I want to come back home?
Yeah, you did.
Because I don't really...
Yeah.
I remember wanting to leave.
I remember
but I was
saying
also
that you
sick
wanted to come
home
the
whole time.
And
I honestly thought it was... I thought it was... Yeah,
You've basically been sick the whole time since. I mean, I wasn't very happy there either. It's a beautiful state, but I don't want to live there.
Yeah, but where we were at was not. We were in the middle of Sacramento in an apartment.
There's a million different cities just like that in California, you know?
Yeah, I'm not saying California. California's got some beautiful spots, but I don't think I want to live there again.
Yeah, like I said, I don't mind living here. And I want enough money to be able to go to Redwoods National Park for a weekend when I feel like it.
I think going to California and then coming back here, it's like, this place has some beauty to it too.
It does.
You know?
I love it. Like the Ozarks, you know? Yeah. It's amazing. Pretty... I love it. Northwest Arkansas and around the Buffalo River and that. It's some of my favorite hikes I've been on. Like that I went on it by myself, but the Eye of the Needle Trail that guy died on that I told you about, that one is pretty close up there to that one in Grand Teton for me.
Really?
For some reason, it might have just been because I had a good time. I was by myself. I didn't have to worry about anything.
I think that's a big part of it.
What?
Not only does the place have to be cool, but it's got to be like a
mood thing. Yeah, I think part of what was fun is that was a kind of a challenging hike because the whole time you're falling up this creek bed that has some water in it, and you're like having to hop around rocks and like go under stuff and climb over trees, and like there are parts where you could be wading through the water, but you have to like, if you don't want to get wet, try to find other ways through it. And there was probably 40 different waterfalls along the whole way. And then there was that part where somebody died on. That as I was doing it, I was like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. Because at the time, I didn't know that somebody had died on it, but I remember looking at it and being like, I've never really tried to do anything sketchy in my life before.
Honestly, hiking, I know this is going to sound stupid, but hiking is dangerous.
Well, it is, yeah.
It's so dangerous.
I was by myself. I saw one other person on that whole hike, and the whole time you're just in this really remote, not super popular trail going further and further and further and further back up into this like valley. That's
where you got slick rocks, you can twist an ankle, you don't have phone signal.
Yeah.
Nobody probably knew you were down there to begin with.
No. Because I just planned it, you know. I didn't really plan it. I was just like, I'm going to go camp one night by myself. And I went to some trails that I had been to before that I wanted to revisit, and then some new ones, you know.
What's that? Is it 72 hours or 21 hours?
127 hours.
Yeah. I was like,
that's a true story.
I know, but whenever I first saw that, and that was kind of before we started hiking and stuff, I was like, why would somebody go somewhere like that and not tell anybody? And now I'm like,
it's so.
And I leave all the time, and I don't tell anybody anything.
Yeah, yeah, I don't tell anybody.
Nobody knew.
My mom will always tell me, be like, "Thanks for telling me" or something.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah. That
especially the trail you're on. Like I may be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going on to Big Bend National Park."
But that doesn't help anybody if you're, nobody hears from you for another day. But then the problem is, so imagine you have a wife or something, and she goes on a trip by herself. At what point do you think it's a good idea to be, like, worried?
Well, if they go somewhere like that, you really can't be because you don't have signal. Like if you haven't heard from them in 2 or 3 days, it's like, well, it just.
But then what? Then you'd start thinking, but like, what if they're right now in trouble? They broke their leg and they're like in a hole in the ground or something, just waiting.
Yeah. Or you go down there and get bit by a snake or something.
Oh, I definitely could have got bit by a snake in that place because I went in like mid to late springtime.
Mm-hmm.
Bugs. Every year it reiterates how much I hate summertime.
You can, I don't know, you can either sit in a closet like this for the rest of your life and be safe, or you can go out and do cool things, and everything's got a risk and reward to it. So
that, I think about that hike all the time. You need to go on that hike. It was amazing.
I'd like to go, but I just, for some reason, I don't get excited about going somewhere unless it's a long ways away.
It feels different. It's the Buffalo River is something special to me for some reason. I don't know why. Something about it is like a special place in my heart. I love that place. It was the first national river managed by the National Park Service. You can't have any dogs there. There's did I tell you? I think I did tell you about those. The people that I met there at the campsite. Who the one guy he showed me. Gave me some of those IPAs. That's now like my favorite IPA. Mm-hmm. And his wife was trying to hand out weed because she works at a dispensary. She just had like this big jar full of joints, and she was handing out to everybody. And he made me steak. And then the group next to us was these like big old boys from Louisiana who cooked this big pot.
That wasn't the time you were by yourself, though, was it?
It was. It was just me. I was camping in that campsite, and they were next to me. And then those big old boys made big pot of jambalaya and passed around whiskey to everybody.
Well, that's probably why it was your favorite trip, or up there. Because it's always, you always, like, whenever you meet new people and you have, like, new connections, make new friends, that's always, like, a really good time in your brain.
I mean, I had been to that place a million other times. I went to there's one trail that for some reason I go to, and there's this really special looking waterfall, that I go to that for some reason I feel like I have really nice memories of that I've only been to twice. And you go up and it's like you're walking along this creek bed, and then you have to like turn to this left and you go up into this like it basically turns into like a rock room, and on it there's like wildflowers all over the ground there, and it's like really deep green moss, and then like this really pretty, like, picturesque looking waterfall in the back corner of like the rock room, and it's like really private, and you just sit back, and I don't know, I love that place. It's called Quivala Elise Falls.
That ain't the place where we went with the cave in the very back, is it?
Nope, that's
a cool place.
Lost Valley Trail. Yeah, I took Morgan there not too long ago.
Yeah,
that place is pretty cool. That's a pretty popular one.
It's a cool spot.
Yeah, it's got like 3 different waterfalls there, and then that cave, that's a full-on waterfall.
Yeah. Nothing like the one in Yellowstone, but it's
inside of a cave.
Yeah,
a pitch black cave. Like you have to crawl through some shit and then come out, and then it's like you have to yell because the waterfall is so loud.
Yeah.
Last time I was there, we were walking around inside the cave, and then I looked on the wall, and there was a bolt stuck in the wall, like a rusty bolt with a nut on it. I wonder what somebody was like rock climbing or something in there, maybe. That'd be kind of cool.
One place you guys ought to go,
I forgot that we were kind of like talking to a camera.
One place you guys ought to go is if you're ever in Branson, Missouri, go to Silver City. Not only is it a cool theme park, but the cave there, I actually love Marble Cave.
Sometimes I've been in there. Oh. And I'm looking around, I'm like, this shit's fake. But obviously it's not.
The room you go down in at the beginning is like, holy cow, this thing is huge.
I kind of like the smaller caves better. They feel more intimate.
I love caves in general. I almost try not to like caves because, like, it's so dangerous to go in them, and you're just so curious to keep going and going and going. And that would be like my biggest nightmare ever, to get stuck in one of them things.
I watch sometimes these TikToks of those people who that's what they do, is the caving, where they get into like the really tight caves where they're like I probably wouldn't. Like, I'm not a giant person, but like you have to be like a really lean person that they like have to like maneuver their shoulders a certain way, and their hips have to go a certain way, and they like to like squeeze through tiny gaps and stuff.
Oh, could you imagine getting stuck and you're like out of breath too? You're like just taking tiny
those people, they're good at staying calm and
adrenaline seekers.
But I think they're good at knowing like, hey, nothing's really gonna happen. I'm gonna get out.
Maybe not. The odds are not in your favor.
Well,
probably.
the fact is they probably knew about that cave already, and the
told somebody that they're going in there.
Well, and somebody has probably been there before. That's how they knew about it, and there isn't like a dead body wedged in that hole, so that means people must be able to get through there.
Or somebody hasn't been stupid enough to try it yet. But I don't know. People are like that. Like people rock climb. To me, that's like.
Well, there are like every hobby you can think of. There are like huge databases of all the cool places to do it. Like I guarantee there are.
Well, it doesn't make them safe though.
No, but documented tends to be more safe. The more people know about it, and the more people have tried it, I feel like the more safe it has to be, right?
I mean, yeah. If you went in there and got stuck, you could call 911. Well, somebody could call 911 and come jackhammer you out or something, you know. But I don't know. Like I could see
until your hunger wastes you away enough to wiggle out.
That could happen.
It might have to happen.
I could see how rock climbing. Like if you were on what's that straight cliff?
El Capitan.
Yeah, in Yosemite. If you were like sitting up on that at night in your tent and you're just like looking out, that'd be cool.
I tried that rock climbing one time. Barely rock climbing, just like
getting stairs.
No, it was I had gone hiking with a group of people in Arkansas, and there was like a 40-foot tall rock face, and one of the guys had gone up there to tie off a rope, and because he does it all the time, and tied off the rope, and then he had rappelled down, and then we were all going to go up and down, up and down. I couldn't fit in the fucking harness thing. It was too skinny to go. Like, it's supposed to come all the way up here and like rest right underneath your ass cheek, and I couldn't fit in it because my legs are too strong and buff. I just couldn't slide my legs in it, I guess.
Did Caitlin try it?
Yeah, she did it? No, she didn't do it. Her boyfriend did, though. Mitch. He's a surprisingly cool guy.
I could see that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how those guys...
Oh, yeah.
If there was a rope holding me on... No, I couldn't do it. I'm not going to say that. I tried it at the rec one time and I got stuck halfway. I was like...
They had that at the rec?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, Chesterfield Family Center is what I'm talking about.
That
was whenever I was like 10 or 11.
Speaking of caves, there's another site, or actually it's a PBS Eons, is this YouTube channel I watch where they just talk about like old archaeology things and like dinosaurs and old species and people, shit like that. There's this an episode I watched the other day where it wasn't actually video, it was like audio only, and they were describing in really great detail this cave in like South Africa that they found, like a cave that you had to crawl through like that, that's super skinny, and in some of the rooms of that cave they found tons of like old hominid bones, like human ancestors, like that they had lived in there. And they were trying to figure like, how did they end up in here? And they were a different population of like a different species of people than we had ever seen before. I don't remember the name of it. I don't remember enough. You should just look into it. Something PBS Eons, something about a cave. I don't know. I like that YouTube channel.
That stuff's interesting. I'm glad I'm not like super into that though, because I know you never get like solid results and like
science.
Very, let alone fast at all. It's
many people spend their whole life never having solved the thing that they were intrigued by when they were like studying in college, you know. They just become a small piece of the
treasure hunter type deals.
Yeah.
Like,
I heard somewhere
their grandpa told me about a treasure and they try to find it their whole life.
I saw someone the other day online somewhere, probably TikTok, so it's probably bullshit, I don't know. But they said that there has literally never been any documentation of pirates' treasure ever being found anywhere. That's never happened. It's only stories.
What's that TV show? It's like Oak Island, where they like, I don't know, they found some piece of gold or something. It's a TV show, so it totally could have been Planet or something too. And the guy like bought the island, and he's like,
oh shit,
digging it up. I mean, everything.
I never heard that.
But yeah, it's a TV show. I think it's Oak Island.
Is it about like just gold mining? I guess
it's about hiding. It's about finding some treasure that was supposed to be there.
An El Dorado.
It was some
city,
like
golden city,
multi-millionaire guy that
you'd have to be to buy an island
and then excavate all of it.
Yeah,
and figure it out. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, I forgot I had water in here. I was like, man, I'm thirsty. Fuck. How am I gonna do this?
I could imagine though, if you found something like that, you would just have to keep looking for it.
Yeah,
like if you found a little speck of gold, like how much are you gonna dig for after that? You know.
like actual gold just sitting on the ground.
There's a movie called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. And in it, there's this... The movie is made up of, like, 3 or 4 different storylines that are, like, barely connected. And one of them is, like, this... It's this old man up in, like, Colorado or something like that in, like, the early 1900s or late 1800s. Like, Wild West. There's a hair stuck in my tongue. The Wild West type area. And this old man who's, like, a prospector. And he's, like... It shows him, like... He's not talking the whole time. He, like, spends months... like checking the river and finding little pieces of gold and like working his way up to where he thinks, because if it's in the river, it has to have washed away from up the mountain somewhere. So he's saying there's like the source of it is somewhere. So the whole thing is in finding it, looking, and then he ends up like he's camped out there and he ends up like digging this big hole and finding eventually in the marble rock this vein of gold that goes like this huge. The source of it. And he's like, and then he's like in the hole looking down on it, and then you see the shadow above him because he's down in this hole, and there's somebody up above who's just been waiting, watching him, and he shoots him in the back.
Letting him do all the work.
Yeah, he just been waiting, watching him find it, and then shoots him in the back.
Dang.
And then
that's a movie?
Yeah, called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. But then if I remember right, the guy that he didn't actually die, he was just sitting there pretending to be dead, and then he killed the guy. I don't really remember what happened after that. And then he left with like a bunch of gold, I guess. I don't know.
There's so much cool stuff in Colorado and that kind of area.
Well, dude, there's something you never really, like, I learned about a lot when I was a kid, but like Sacramento was the center of the California gold rush. Mm-hmm. That's where like the American River has been excavated a million times over because of gold. There's a shit ton of gold that comes out of the Sierra Nevada mountains from like where Tahoe is. Down into the valley there. That's where like the team, the San Francisco 49ers, you know, that's because the people who came to California in 1849 were called the 49ers. It was like this rush of people all trying to make it rich, mining gold. And that area is just known for that.
I saw this deal on Facebook the other day. It was a picture from there's like an old mill in Colorado. I sent it to my dad. That place looks so freaking cool.
Why do you guys have such an obsession with mills?
Well, I think they're just, it's really old technology, and it's awesome. Like, they built these wood giant gears and stuff, and it's all water driven. It's just kind of cool. I've
never really seen one though, so.
It's like a piece of furniture that's a factory. Seriously, it is like a wooden built factory, everything, like the gears.
I want to see like an old clock tower that has like that gears and shit in it. That'd be kind of cool. In the movies, you see people inside of.
Yeah. But it's like in an awesome spot. It's in the mountains. It's got this big waterfall next to it. And the water hits this turbine and it turns this mill and it ground the corn down, and it's a whole process.
It's kind of crazy awesome to think about, if back in the day, if you were one of the people who settled in a place like that, it's like free energy that you, you know, if there's a stream nearby. Isn't it weird? People always seem to have this, like, desire to be near water. I guess because we need water, we drink water, but, like, I always feel good anytime I'm near water. Sometimes if I'm, like, in Springfield doing stuff, I'll just go to Lake Springfield and just kind of, like, look at it, and I'm like, I feel good. I don't know why.
I don't know. Maybe if it's ancestral or something. I don't know if that's how you say it.
In where?
Ancestral?
Ancestral.
Yeah.
Well, what does that even mean?
Like, that's just like, there's food and water, there's food around water, and there's water to drink.
Yeah, that just means
it's like kind of like the perfect spot to settle. I think.
So, psychologically,
at peace.
Natural selection would have selected for people who wanted to be near water because it was easier to survive, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you had to go like survive somewhere, you would go where there's clean water.
A lake. Yeah, a lake, a river.
Yeah, you can fish, all of the animals have to come to that so you can hunt there.
It's also like a natural landmark that you could
you can cool down if you need to.
You could use it to travel. You could go just down a river somewhere until you see some kind of settlement or something. I wonder what's the longest stretch of, like, the Mississippi River without a town on the edge of it.
Our town's really right next to the Mississippi. It kind of floods that whole...
Yeah, there's some. I mean, there's roads, bridges that cross them.
There's roads and stuff. I mean, there's little tiny like Billings towns, I guess. Like
it just takes one to save your life. Just takes a person.
Well, the Mississippi's kind of different. Mississippi's dirty and huge, and I'm thinking like a creek.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a James River.
Yeah, something clean.
Well, that's not very clean.
James River's before Springfield and crap was around. I'm sure it was a clean river.
Maybe. I don't know. That's what Lake Springfield is. It's just James River dammed up.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I've read the Wikipedia page about it, and I memorized how many. It's 318 acres. I don't know why I remember that, but that's how big it is.
And it's really shallow.
Yeah, most of it is pretty shallow. That's sometimes where I like to take my kayak. I'm still not sure if I own my kayak or if Terry does, to be honest.
Well, Terry has it's in her barn, so I'd say just borrow it whenever you want.
She doesn't own my square body or tractors, does she?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't even know where the title is either.
To your kayak?
To my square body. It's missing. The nice thing is you don't really need a title unless you're selling it.
Or registering it.
But if it's been registered in your name before...
Oh, yeah, then you're good.
Yeah, and it is. It's still got plates on it.
But eventually you'll sell that piece of crap.
Nope. I still have the image when I was 17, and I got to test drive it, and the guy that I was buying it from, he didn't get in. He just told me, hop in, go drive around, and I remember driving to the end of his street, turning around, and it was like on a dirt road, and I was just like, this is it. I felt so good.
So free.
And I didn't buy it then. Like I couldn't for whatever reason buy it. So then a week later is when I did. $1,200. That's a steal, honestly, for a running truck that I never really had to do anything to. Yeah. Like I've never done anything other than like brakes and ball joints or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, back then I was a lot of money. You were probably making like $6.50 an hour.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, back then it was a lot of money. I mean, that's what 6 times 40. You make $240 a week if it was a full-time job.
It was part-time. I never more than 30 hours at Little Caesars. Crazy. Dude, I did the math on it yesterday. The Navy didn't pay me jack shit.
Mm-hmm.
I made like $2,000 a month, and working like 14 or 15-hour days sometimes. That's like $5.50 an hour.
I don't get how they get people to sign up for it.
Brainwashing. Everybody spends their whole life thinking about support your troops, you know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of has to be that way, I guess.
Oh yeah, because it did make logical sense.
Nationalism is weird. Patriotism is pretty weird.
Glad they do it.
Yeah, otherwise, if we wouldn't have...
Otherwise somebody else would, and we wouldn't be in the United States.
But then, what if we could come up with some kind of utopia society where people stopped having individual countries and we just had like mankind, and that was how we unified, and we went to space and we went and found other species.
I think we've talked about this before I don't know if it was on the podcast or not. I don't know, but I think social media is going to help that.
You think so?
Yeah.
I know it's stupid, but I always think of Star Trek when that happens, because that's kind of what happened in the movie Star Trek, or in the shows. It's
us against aliens.
It's not against. It's like people made it to the stars by like separating all their differences, because they were like, listen, there's all those different kinds of people out there. At least we're all humans and we can unify this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started being like the UN, but for different planets. It was called the United Federation of Planets, and it's like all kinds of different species that have their own, like, that they all communicate and trade and cooperate together.
What I think is insane is that somebody in the military force is willing to go risk their life for a war that they have nothing to really do with. Like, say the Ukraine and Russia. Now I'm not up on the subject, so
don't take my word for it.
It's like, but could you imagine being a Russian army person?
Russian army soldier.
Yeah, soldier. And the government's like, hey, you got to go shoot all these people in Ukraine because we want their oil.
Yeah. I don't know if that's why it is.
I don't know. That's what I've heard. I don't know.
I didn't even know they had oil.
Totally not be.
I thought it was
or just to be a part of Russia again.
Well, it's because, I thought that's what it was.
That's even a crazier thing. Like,
it's crazy because
you want us to go kill all these people, and then just so we can have our borders, and then all those people are still going to live there? That doesn't make sense.
What else was crazy? The Civil War in the United States, it's the same country. And they were like, let's go fight each other. Why? I don't even, I understand wanting to separate and become your own country, which they technically did, but then why were we fighting? Why was the Union fighting the Confederacy? What was the purpose of the actual fighting?
Well, I think...
Was the Union mad that...
The United States, or the North wanted to keep us all together and being in the same country. I think that was the main end, of course, slavery. But
but I feel like if all of those states agreed on it, shouldn't they just be allowed to fucking skedaddle if they wanted to, I guess? Because that's kind of tyrannical for the government to be like, no. You're an American. No matter what.
We don't, neither one of us know.
Well, then we're just talking.
Yeah.
Ask,
Well, if it doesn't make sense, it probably didn't happen that way.
Maybe.
So.
I don't know. Lots of things happen that don't make sense.
I'm sure
the Holocaust.
That made sense to those people. It has to make sense. I'm sure they saw it as kind of how people do right now with guns. Like, oh, you aren't taking my guns, And people back then were like, oh, you're not taking my slaves, they're my property. That's probably just how they thought. I mean, I would have a fit if the government tried to come and take my house. Because I believe it was my property, you know what I mean? That's just probably how they thought back then. But...
yeah, nobody knows. Which side would you be on? The north or the south? Because right here, this place we lived in was the most contested area of the Civil War.
We live right next to the Wilson's Creek National
there's lots of battlefields, but we're on the line where there were parts of southern Missouri right here that were fighting with the Confederacy, Mm-hmm.
There's no way in knowing. Obviously, right now, you're like, I don't want slaves. But back then, whenever it was culturally acceptable, who knows where you'd be at.
Well, let's see. Are there any things that are culturally acceptable now that you don't agree with?
They're acceptable now that I don't agree with?
Maybe not the vast majority, but at least, let's say, 20 to 30% of the population thinks is okay that you don't.
No, not really. I'm kind of more on the progressive side now than...
Interesting. Sound about that for your dad.
Well, it's traditional, just always didn't make sense.
I just realized I'm probably out of the frame if I'm leaning against the wall like that.
It doesn't... To me, it doesn't make sense.
Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't.
Like what?
I don't know. That's kind of off the top. I don't know. But changing things just for the sake of changing them also doesn't make sense.
I don't think that happens. People only change things because there's a problem around it. People hate to change, so if it's changing, that means
there are plenty of people who try to change things, I feel like, that don't all necessarily aren't being changed for the better. I'm trying to think of an example, but...
I think we should be allowed to have guns.
But not
machine gun? I don't think you need a machine gun.
I'm not saying shall not be infringed thing is, come on, man. I have 2 guns, and I think if you're a responsible person, you should be allowed to have 2 guns. But the idea that you should be allowed to have whatever type of gun you want, no matter what, and however many you want.
But I did see a Ben Shapiro argument the other day. They're trying to get rid of, the big gun clips and stuff. And I think that's just a marketing thing, is what he was talking about, because it's the mass shootings that happen in the United States are pistols. So he was I think he was talking to, who's the British guy that's famous, news guy?
I don't know.
But he was talking to him, he's so are you wanting to get rid of all pistols? Because that's where the majority of shootings actually come from. And that was that makes sense. I mean,
what do you mean a marketing thing, though? What would that be the point of that?
It's just a baby step to getting rid of all the guns, probably. Because that's not the big problem.
Well, I don't know. What is the big problem?
Well, the big problem is that people are killing each other.
Yeah.
But I want the option to be able to protect myself.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to kill somebody, you're going to kill them either way. So
yeah, I mean, I could strangle you, probably.
You strangle me or hit me with a 2x4.
Or stab you with a kitchen knife. What are you going to do? Take away everybody's kitchen knives? Nobody's allowed to cook anymore? A fork? It's just not going to happen. There are a million things in this room, you rip them.
But I'm open to ideas. Sure.
Yeah, I think it totally makes sense if you had to take some sort of aptitude test or some kind of psychological evaluation to have a gun or something. I think that's fair. Just to make sure you're not crazy. That's normal,
Which we have that right now.
Yeah. Well, they did a background check, but who knows what they did.
But it's not...
In Missouri, it's really easy to get a gun compared to some other states.
Again, we know a person that is a felon that has multiple weapons.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like a bad dude, but should he have weapons? Probably not. Does he? Yes, it's really easy for him to get.
But just
weapons.
because criminals do crimes doesn't mean we shouldn't have laws,
Sure, but I'm just
we have to try.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes it harder, sure. But do they still have it? Yeah.
But yeah, just because I don't think that's a good argument, because I don't think just because they don't follow the law doesn't mean we should be like, well, fuck the law. Nobody has to follow it,
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
But then what are you saying?
I'm just saying it's a very complicated issue, and I really don't know how to answer it.
Yeah.
Because
Don't take my word for it.
If it was a utopia and we didn't have to have guns, great.
Yeah.
But
if nobody ever tried to... Yeah, listen, if for whatever reason 10 years goes by and not a single person breaks into anybody, not a single person gets raped, not a single bear or dog attacks a person, okay, sure, get rid of the guns.
Yeah.
Just like I would love to get rid of nuclear bombs so much. I think everybody would. Mm-hmm. But we all know that not everybody would get rid of them. And that's the only reason we have them.
That puts you in a very vulnerable spot.
So we can't afford to be vulnerable. So we gotta have
So it's a psychological change is what it's gotta be.
So we need a magic wand that just goes, ding! No more nukes. And everybody forgot how to make them.
And nobody has a desire to make any more. Or anything like that.
Yeah. And people stop killing each other. And people don't get attacked by animals.
Well, that's what I was talking about. Obviously, this is a stretch, and hopefully it happens one of these days. But, that's one of the definite benefits of social media now. Because I feel like back in the old days, it was really easy to be like, these people are our problems. Yeah. And now...
You can be like, okay, well, let's hear from one of these people. Let's see what their day-to-day life looks like. It's just the same.
As long as social media isn't getting manipulated in a certain way, which I believe it is, but I also see it as their point. If I own Facebook, I think I should be able to control what's on it just because it's my business.
Issue too.
Yeah.
How did we get on these topics of the biggest issues? What do you think is the biggest risk to society in today's day?
The biggest risk to society? Probably nuclear weapons.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. Because it only takes, I think people... countries go into war because we're bored.
What?
In some sense, I think we do it because we're bored. We just want something happening.
Because I don't know. The people who are literally making that decision, who are trying to decide, should we go to war, should we not go to war, I don't think they're being like, well, I got nothing better to do. You think that thought is literally going on in their head?
Maybe.
That doesn't.
I know that's far out there. But there's really no reason to go into war. Unless somebody's literally trying to come take your land or hurt you in some way. And there's no reason.
A lot of them times they think that the things they're doing are going to hurt them. Even if we don't agree with it.
Again, I don't know much about it. Just what I've heard. But Ukraine fighting against Russia because they're coming to take them over. Yeah. I totally see standing up for yourself that way.
Yeah, but then Russia thinks that Ukraine being going to join NATO or something like that is going to threaten Russia's power or something like that. So should they be allowed to do that?
They should be allowed. Yeah, sure, they should be allowed to. But that's what I'm saying. It's like a psychology thing. It's all perspective. I'm scared of the next guy having a bigger stick than me, and then we end up, by being scared of each other, we end up taking the first swing. If that makes sense, that's probably not the best analogy, but I don't know. That's just kind of how society. If we could somehow figure out a way to actually trust each other and not get screwed.
Yeah, I've never wanted to be in a fight before.
No, but you were willing to be ready to be in a fight. I think.
I guess if I had to, but yeah, it's. So the question is, how do we get people to stop fighting? I think these are things people have been asking themselves for as long as language has existed. Do you think
the threat has to go away?
The threat of what?
Being in a fight, which is literally just every person deciding that they're not gonna.
And I think everybody doesn't want to be in a fight. I don't think anybody thinks.
Have you ever seen that? There's like a meme on Facebook or whatever. It's like two soldiers pointing a gun at each other. And it's like, I don't want to shoot him, but he wants to shoot me, and both of the people are saying that.
Yeah,
that's kind of. I think of it.
So what if we could all we figure out consciousness or something, and they just like figure out a way that for like a day we just all get mixed into everybody's feelings and thoughts, so we can see that we're all thinking and feeling the same way and want the same things, and to not be attacked and to not have to attack anyone, you know. Think that would do anything? Or one day we just upload us all into the Matrix.
Well, isn't that what social media is? I mean, you can connect with everybody's emotions.
Yeah, but people could be lying.
Sure.
Take away if I could literally read your mind, you couldn't lie to me, you know?
Sure.
Or we're just all going to get uploaded into the Matrix one day, the mainframe, and then none of these will be problems anymore. Who cares if you fight digitally?
I don't know what the word I'm looking for is.
To describe what?
We don't know what we don't know.
Okay.
We think there has to be war of some sort. So we think there has to be conflict because there always has been.
I don't think there has to be. I just think there's going to be.
Well, it's hard to imagine a world where there isn't, right?
Sure. But that doesn't mean there has to be. That just means there is.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's hard for us to think outside the box of what it always has been to move forward.
But things change all the time, you know? There have been plenty of things that exist now that have never existed before.
Yeah, I think we're heading in an awesome direction. I think it only goes up from here. It only gets better from here.
I keep seeing more and more and more and more and more shit.
I was playing with that thing last night. It's awesome.
Well, that's not the only one either. I've seen at least 5 or 6 other AI tools that are useful, you know. And I keep seeing more and more people using ChatGPT and like showing like ways on how to use it better, you know, and how to teach how to use it more efficiently and to get answers that are more useful for you, you know.
Yeah, that is the one kind of problem I ran into yesterday. Is it just kind of gave me generic answers, but I may have not been asking it the right questions.
Well, that's kind of usually how things go. You got to learn. You got to read that book. You got to figure out how to ask the right questions to get the solutions you're looking for. But I think we're a little over an hour now.
Yeah, that'll work. I think it was a good one. So,
how'd you guys like our new backdrop?
This might be like if it's 2 people, this is fine.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about
we'll see how the audio sounds. I think it's not as echoey in here, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm thinking about making some kind of design up here that has the name of the podcast.
So if it's been up this whole episode, just now you know it was digitally added.
I'm sure they'll be
not actually there. Well, my graphic design skills. Okay. Thanks for watching. We have a Patreon. It's called patreon.com/DTMWFI.
See, we should probably change that.
But it's way harder to type it. It was way harder to put on a page somewhere. Don't take my word for it. It's don't take my word for it. Just the first letters, you know, the abbreviation.
Yep.
You can see all kinds of we got videos that are only on there. Where every video now we're putting early access. So every one of these episodes, there's going to be early access. Is going to be posted first on Patreon before it's ever posted on YouTube, and then also like uncut versions. So any parts that we thought were, you know, too racy or too controversial or had some dirty shit in it that we shouldn't talk about on YouTube, it'll be on the Patreon. Or behind the scenes stuff, we were fucking with stuff that we cut out because it looked bad. You'll get to see it anyways.
And there's just exclusive content. Like we make at his house, there's
some videos
complete
that
new
will never
videos
be.
that,
they'll
you'll never see
be
them on YouTube.
Yeah.
Only in the Patreon.
Yeah, so it's a good way to help support us and to be kind of part of a community of people who agree with, talking about cool shit, learning about cool shit, part of a community.
Yeah, and also, if you don't want to do the subscription deal, we have a Venmo too. So if you want to
support that way, you can
just send us a tip or something.
Yeah, and we also have all these podcasts on audio only, which is how I listen to most of my podcasts. So we're on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Stitcher, all those things. So you can check them out that way too. You might already be listening to this on there. So
do we have the Venmo thing actually set up as a link yet?
Sort of. I'll figure it out today.
Send us money, please.
Yeah. You can do that on Spotify too. Yeah. Okay, thanks.